Life sure was simple when I was growing up. When I rolled out of bed, I knew that I had to be ready for school by a specific time. When I got to school, I knew which specific behaviors were expected of me and which specific tasks I needed to perform in order to receive passable grades. When I got home, I knew which chores I needed to knock out in order to get my free time for the evening. In that free time, I would usually jump into a video game where the objectives I needed to accomplish were often very easy to discern, if not plainly laid out. Even after I graduated high school and enlisted as a Marine, life was pretty simple and straightforward. I knew that I would wake up at 4 in the morning and go to sleep at 8 in the evening. My drill instructors dictated my life. They told me to do something, so I did it. In those occasions where I either did not do a particular thing or did not do that thing to their satisfaction, my drill instructors incentivized me not to make that mistake twice. See, as I think back upon my early life, I find myself wishing for the simplicity of those years gone by. Yes, navigating the social minefield that was puberty in high school may have seemed daunting at the time, but they were nothing compared to the social and political maneuvers that I face as a fully fledged adult. Even when I was being forced to do 100 burpees in the sand or completely submerge myself in a mud lake to crawl under barbed wire, the effort was merely one of physical exertion. I describe these times of my life as simple because the vast majority of what I did was at the direction of others. Mom and Dad set my expectations for home life. My teachers set expectations for how I was to behave and perform at school. My drill instructors set expectations as to how I was to live as a recruit. Things were pretty black and white for me. Either I did what was expected of me or I did not. In acting appropriately, I was rewarded with praise or nice treats or nice things. And choosing to act counter to expectations, I was punished by having my nice things taken away. Receiving poor grades or being forced to participate in a wide range of creative and grueling physical exercises. I think of it a lot like bowling with the bumpers up. If your shot goes astray, those guards will guide your ball back toward the lane. At the end of the day, your ball will get from one end of the lane to the other, regardless of the accuracy of your shot and the number of pins that you take down. The real challenge stage of my life started when I was truly introduced to the world as an independently functioning adult. Fresh out of my training, I certainly had my fair share of obligations and responsibilities, and to fail to perform well would definitely carry consequences. But now I had a whole range of new life choices and directions presented to me with, compared to how I had been living, very little guidance as to which paths I should take and how I should proceed. Off the top of my head, do I live in the barracks or rent a place out in town? Do I eat the meals that are provided to me, or should I swing out to the grocery store to buy supplies to prepare my own food? On that note, what the heck do I do with my money? I mean, there's a lot of nice things that I want, but what about this whole saving concept that people are talking about? What do I do with my free time? Do I exercise to improve my fitness? Do I play video games to reduce my stress? Do I go out and socialize and make new friends? In the blink of an eye, life got difficult. Choices. I now had the freedom to dictate my own path. And that freedom was the most difficult thing that I had struggled with to date. Back in boot camp, if my form slacked while I was exercising, my drill instructor would correct me. In my free will life, nothing was going to force me to exercise in the first place. I would have to push myself. Mom and Dad weren't going to watch my money either. So when it came to my finances, whether I saved or spent was entirely up to me. Very quickly, I found my actions gravitating to those which required lesser amounts of invested resources or effort. I knew I should work out, but there were other pursuits, like video games, that I decided were a more entertaining use of my time. I likewise knew that I should at the very least eat healthy, but preparing a healthy meal from scratch was expensive and took a lot longer than heating up a plate of pizza rolls. Heck, my finances fell apart because I enjoyed the instant gratification of purchasing a new thing for myself or someone else, more than the satisfaction I got from saving money. Discipline does not come easy to most folks. That's why we, as a culture, admire those superhuman people who have the physique to run a marathon or the mental capacity to manage a large multi-million-dollar company. Last I checked, Chuck Norris didn't come out of the womb a kung fu king. It took him a literal lifetime of effort and dedication to get to the point where the boogeyman checks his closet for Chuck before he goes to sleep in the evening. Discipline concerning faith is a separate matter entirely. If your nutritional discipline slips, your growing gut will quickly testify to your deficiencies. If your financial discipline slips, that credit card declined message at the grocery store will make it pretty darn clear that you need to get back on track. If your spiritual discipline slips, it could be years before you realize that something is off, and even more years past that before you realize that you aren't proud of who you are. Now, I think it prudent to note that when I say words like spiritual and faith, I refer to beliefs that supersede the self. To me, I include matters of the soul and my God in those beliefs. But they also encompass matters such as morality and ethics. In my life, I've known spiritual atheists who, truth being told, were more righteous in their conduct than most people I've met. By the same token, I've met spiritually bankrupt, yet devout, followers of many faiths. Carrying on. Staying true to yourself and your spiritual ideals is not an easy task. It is a series of small successes completed over a lifetime. Yesterday, my wife and I were driving Jeremy out to get some ice cream. About 2/3 through our journey, my wife spied a man with a "Will Work for Food" sign standing at the corner of the road. She indicated to me that on our way back, we should bring that man a meal. Well, there we were in Dairy Queen, and I had totally forgotten about the man by the road. Sarah didn't, though, and asked me to go put an order for a burger and a bottle of water. Part of me was excited about the opportunity to help this guy, but there was a small part of my mind that rebelled against the thought. It tried to insist the man certainly would have moved on by now. It then tried to tell me that there was nowhere safe to park near the man, and I'd need to dodge across a few lanes of a busy road to deliver the food. Look, we all have that voice inside that insists we take the selfish path. It tells us to not care about others and to focus on what matters to us. That voice isn't wrong, per se. Simple Darwinism states that animals survive when they prioritize their own needs above all others. What separates us from these animals, though, is a drive to survive in spite of selfish acts. And this drive is deeply rooted in our spiritual discipline. At the end of the day, the man by the side of the road got a burger and a bottle of water, and I chalked up a spiritual win because my selfish desires were put aside for the benefit of something that I believed in. Next time, I'm going to see if I can't get that selfish voice to start off a little bit quieter, but that's part of my journey. Living that good life isn't easy, and there are going to be days, weeks, months, and even years that we stumble. That's part of our journey. What matters most is that we acknowledge who we are and who we want to become, and we strive to take every step toward actualizing that self in the end.